Welcome to Innovation and Leadership. Today on the show, we've got Marley Lunt.
I might be working with them for a few weeks or a couple of years, but at the end of the day, I'm just a consultant, and they have to continue leading. And if I don't teach them to lead or help them fix some of their bad habits or put systems in place so that it will continue to manage that way even after they leave, then I'm wasting my time.
This is another episode of our Innovation and Leadership series where we interview pro athletes, world-class musicians, CEOs, Hollywood filmmakers, and a wide variety of other high achievers. Also, I want to talk to you about one of our show's sponsors. I met these guys back on episode 6. CEO Zach Smith was telling me all about starting a skateboard company and how much he hated doing the bookkeeping for a skateboard shop, and how he really got led to start this business, Bookly, that's a hybrid combining bookkeeping software and human services. And I'll tell you why I let him become a sponsor. It's because I use their service now. I don't love paying $50 an hour for bookkeepers to do stuff that I know software could do way, way cheaper. But I don't love bookkeeping at all. So I want a real live human who knows what they're talking about to help me with the stuff I don't understand. Probably the straw that broke the camel's back for me, though, the thing that put me over the top was that they could do my taxes and payroll also. So totally suggest checking them out. Go to their website, bookly.co, and check out their flat rates. I've been super happy with them. So now on to today's episode. Thanks for making time.
Thank you.
So tell us about your operational excellence coaching business and consulting.
Yeah, so I just barely got into consulting after working in the industry for about 7 and 8 years. I specialize in helping leaders understand how to lead in their business, and I also understand a lot of the background and historical context of Lean. So I can help people understand where things came from so that they can be a lot more effective. You know, what's the underlying intent of a lot of the tools and techniques.
Yeah.
And by helping them understand that, then they can go and be a lot more effective and sometimes create new methods of doing work, which is really fun to see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, obviously at Mylan Advisors, we're big fans of everything coming out of Shingo. And you actually got to go to learn that stuff straight from school, didn't you?
Yeah, I got introduced to Lean through the Shingo Institute. I was there as a student in an entrepreneur club, and they asked for some help to analyze the demand for Lean education online. So I did that for a little bit. Then I was offered an internship with them, and later managed the publication award for the Shingo Institute. So I really got to rub shoulders or rub elbows, whatever the saying is, with a lot of the experts to understand what it is they do, where they learned from, and how it all works together.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and for everybody who doesn't know that, the Shingo Prize is like the Nobel Prize of manufacturing, as now in all these other industries, can you give people just the slightest background on the name Shingo and why they've become such a leader?
Yeah, so the Shingo Prize, the name came from Dr. Shingo, who was given an honorary doctorate degree back in the 80s by Utah State University. Dr. Shingo had a lot of influence in Japan. He helped with the Toyota production system. He and Ono were friends to an extent. I mean, they challenged each other a lot, but a lot of the ideas that Shingo came up with became part of the Toyota production system. He also helped a lot of other businesses as well, not just the auto industry. He was also in the shipyards and worked as a consultant himself for the Japan Manufacturing Association. I think that's what it's called. And so because of the impact that he had, Norman Bodek tried actually getting him a Nobel Prize, but for some reason couldn't get that to happen. So he partnered with the university to get an honorary doctorate degree, and they set up an award program to help promote the practices to help organizations achieve world-class status.
Yeah, I mean, now, with Raytheon and Volvo and big, State Farm, all these big giant companies around the world competing for that thing, 30 years of that have, it's really created a machine there, hey?
Yeah, it's really awesome. I mean, at first, the companies that were applying, they weren't quite there, so they treated it as a beauty contest at the beginning. But now it's a very robust program, very hard. It's probably, in my opinion, the hardest award to get in the world in business.
Um, so, and I know there's certain things you can't talk about Boeing, but how did you end up at Boeing?
And so after working with the Shingo Institute, I worked at Utah State University, helping them manage and change the way they operate, a lot of housing and stuff. So I became quite effective in my approach. And Boeing actually approached me. I was at a conference and they were interested. They knew that I had the Shingo background, and so they asked me to work with them. So I joined their operational excellence office.
Yeah. Um, so, thinking about things you can talk about, what was cool for you to be doing this type of work in an organization like that?
At first, it's really a bit scary. You know, Boeing is a huge organization. I loved every minute of it. Um, I love the aviation. Just walking into these huge factories. You know, the building in Everett's the biggest building by square footage, I think, um, in the world, and it's just amazing to see all these big airplanes lined up being produced. That was, very awe inspiring. And at first, you feel a bit scared and like, okay, what can I do? I don't want to mess this up. But after a little while, they actually asked me to help them turn around one of their key organizations and services. It was known as GoldCare in the market. I think they just changed their name, but help them turn around. Now they're winning a lot of the biggest contracts in service history. And so I think, yeah, yeah, I think, yeah. Next
Sure.
question.
Yeah. So, you know, I think as we do these kind of shows, we definitely have a number of folks who they've been on a lean journey and they've had some things go well and some things not go well and they've kind of need to start over. They've had to get back into the tools again or get new tools. In your mind, for folks who they see the magic of what's possible when these systems are run well, and they want that, but maybe they haven't been able to reach it yet. What are some of the first things that you're talking to an organization about, or the first questions you would have for somebody who's been on the lean journey but hasn't seen the results they'd like to see?
First, I take an internal inventory of what they actually were doing and how they're approaching it. I was terrible at first when I was doing lean. For the first 3 6 months, I was not very effective at Utah State University. This is before going to Boeing, and it was the way that I approached it. I said, "Oh, here's all these tools you need to do. Go do 5S, start using A3s, value stream map this, value stream map that." But I couldn't get the people involved. They weren't that interested, and it was because I wasn't bringing them individually into into what we were creating. I wasn't solving their problems, even though they might seem small to me. They were their problems, and I had, and so when I look at an organization, I see that they're not getting the results. That's one of the first things I look is at it. Are they really engaging their people? Are they solving the people's problems, or are they just trying to get some great business results, turn around a company quickly, sell it, and make a lot of money? So they have to have the right purpose as to why they're doing it. Otherwise, it's a short-term project that will fail when the next leader comes in.
Yeah, I'm interested in this. We're both relatively young guys compared to the world of business. When you do have to talk to senior leaders, especially folks that are older than yourself, and help them come to the conclusion that maybe they can up their game in the leadership realm, what's your approach, or what have you found effective? When you're talking to someone who may have significantly more business experience, but there is an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. I actually coached a few VPs at Boeing and other leaders. I think the one thing you have to do, I mean, you can meet with them and build up the rapport. You got to prove that you're capable. But going out and observing what's really going on in the workforce, diving deep, a few layers deep to understand how certain things are being perceived, what problems people are having, but they may not be able to communicate those up to leadership, because there's kind of a different language that's taught at the leadership level versus on the shop floor. And if there's no way to bridge that gap, either through visual workplace um, or other methods, then there's a bit of disconnect. So I try to understand the problems from both perspectives, the leaders, what they're struggling with, and then also what the team members are struggling with. And then I come up with a solution that helps both. I don't try to say that I know everything. That's one thing that leaders really don't like, because they know that they don't know everything. And to have some young guy come in that only been doing this for a few years versus their 30-year experience, it's off-putting. So, but I try to help understand what their vision is and help make that come true for them. And by doing that, then I become a lot more effective.
Our sponsor for this episode of Innovation and Leadership is Skillshare. If you're not familiar with them, they're an online learning platform with over 18,000 classes on business and marketing and entrepreneurship and technology and lots of other classes too, illustration, other things I'm interested in. They've given us a special offer where for the listeners of our show, you can get 2 months for just 99 cents where you can see all these 18,000 classes, unlimited access. It's skillshare.com/leader. And I think what I like about them most is their high quality classes that are from high credibility instructors, content marketing right from Contently, or the one I took was last was email marketing right from MailChimp, where these are folks who are obviously seeing millions of other people's email marketing campaigns go out, so they really are kind of a high credibility source of information. So again, it's skillshare.com/leader, 99 cents for complete access to all their courses for the next 2 months. One last time, skillshare.com/leader. Thanks. Well, it's fascinating how much each of us are more interested in our own plan for ourselves than anybody else's plan for us, huh?
Mm-hmm.
If you can help them define what they want for their plan, and the way you're maybe pointing things out or spotting opportunities is in service of the destination they've set for themselves rather than a destination one of us has set for them, huh?
Yeah, so I really try to connect with their vision of what they want to accomplish and who they are. If I go against that too much, you really can't get a lot of traction. So try to harmonize, create a bit of a mastermind of what's possible to bring people along, and they have to own it. I'm in there as a consultant. I might be working with them for a few weeks or a couple of years, but at the end of the day, I'm just a consultant, and they have to continue leading.
Yeah.
And if I don't teach them to lead or help them fix some of their bad habits or put systems in place so that it will continue to manage that way even after they leave,
yeah,
then I'm wasting my time, and I'm wasting. Maybe it's good for the leader at the time they get promoted, but I'm doing a big disservice to the organization, the team members on the floor. When I go in there, I see that there's a lot of hope on their face.
Yeah.
When I go in there, that usually they haven't been listened to, that there's pain. Everyone has pain. And when I can understand what that pain is, I can help both sides, and sometimes I take it right on the nose, I'll stand up for the people, and sometimes I'll get knocked down by the CEO or a VP or some senior manager, and sometimes I'll stand up for a leader and I'll get knocked down by the team members. But I'm always trying to help both sides, and sometimes there's some self-sacrifice to happen.
Sure. For people who are interested in tangible results, sometimes you get the true believers in OpEx or continuous improvement, and then you get the other folks who have tossed it around like a buzzword. I was recently with a CEO of a large healthcare organization who said, I don't know about that stuff. It seems like that's what people claim they're doing when they're just going in and laying people off. you know, and in some way, in certain companies, lean is a bad word, right? Because it sounds like we're going lean on the number of staff around here, and that it's a precursor for your friends are getting fired, right? And yet, when you see the organizations, the O.C. Tanners of the world, or the different Shingo Prize winners, it's basically the exact opposite. I'm interested in talking about like actual results. On your LinkedIn here, you've talked about a couple of projects like airplane part availability and reduced flow time. Are those things you can tell us about how you guys got to that kind of a result?
That's kind of harder to really talk about. I mean, with the
Sure.
GoldCare program, they're really out of business in 2014, and now they're winning the largest contracts in the service's history, worth billions of dollars. And so that's tangible results. Now I can't go tell you everything that we did to make that happen.
Sure.
That was a two-year journey. Um,
But
one, go ahead.
no. Where were you going to go?
One thing that I could chat a little bit about was some of the work I did at Utah State. It's a little less sensitive, but I remember working with one gentleman, the planner. His name's Dan, and Dan lets me tell the story. But he got hired in, and about a month later, everyone was kind of annoyed. Nothing was getting planned. And talking with him, he was really getting frustrated, and wasn't able to get much work done because of all the questions. And so because he was bombarded all the time with questions and unknown what was expected, there was no work that was coming out. And so I sat down with him, we mapped out his process, created a visual board so people can get all their answers from the board instead of talking to him directly or emails, freed up his time so he could actually plan. And it just created such a calm in his work that he was able to plan projects quite quickly. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think we got the planning process down from months, say 4 to 6 months to do a remodel, down to 6 weeks.
Oh, that's great.
The housing there.
Yeah.
And so that's some results that we've gotten. And working with Andy, who runs the warehouse, fantastic guy. If you ever need someone that knows how to run a warehouse well, he's a great one to talk to. But our inventory accuracy was probably around 60%. Doing a lot of this, making it easier for people to find parts. We got our inventory accuracy up to 99% plus,
Yeah. What do you feel like made the difference there?
What made the difference was a lot of listening.
Why? What was happening before? Why wasn't it getting there without the listening?
Well, the department at Utah State, it was split. We had the administrators in one building and the people actually doing the work, remodeling the buildings in another. And so we remodeled the warehouse to bring everyone under the same roof so they can understand what was happening. And then some of the employees, they would stash parts. They've been working there for years and they knew they would need one, but they have like secret closets and stuff they keep parts in. And they did that because they thought that their parts wouldn't be in the warehouse if they didn't do that, because it's not a regular stocked item. And so we really had to listen to, bringing people together so they can listen to each other more. That helped a lot. And then listening individually to the mechanics, the paint crew, the warehouse, understand what the needs are. We made sure that it was stocked with the right things. And if they didn't have it stocked, we found a way for them to get it. So there was less hoarding and less keeping things all over the place. I think I found like 15 stashes on campus.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that so many managers or leaders get tempted to not think about individual contributors in such a humanizing way? Like, why is it that this is a classic story that we see all over corporate America and frankly across the world, of the frontline staff feeling like they need to sandbag against management? Like, what do you think it is about being in leadership that tempts us to not fully consider what it's like to be on the front line?
I think part of it is our own past experiences. We believe that we're experts, right? And we are. We've done a lot of great things in our lives, but the skill of leadership is different than just the skill of performing a task. And this is actually something that was recognized during World War II. So if you don't mind me going back in the history. So during the war, we have to ramp up production substantially, right? And we have a lot of non-traditional people working in the workforce, women, whole new ethnic groups working in manufacturing, doctors, farmers, and everyone else went off to the war. And so we had to find ways to teach people quickly and effectively to have the skills to manage people, because we can't afford to just fire Johnny because he didn't show up to work one day. We don't have people. We are very short people. We need to find a way to keep people working and to be respectful about it. And so, I don't know which commission. I think the War Commission created this program called Training Within Industries, and it borrowed a lot of concepts from what's called scientific management. And Lean is basically a branch of scientific management. I'm not sure why they had to create another term for it, but they created a course called the Job Relations course. And that's to teach the skill of leadership. And so in the model, they talk about the 5 needs in an effective leader. There's on one side you have knowledge, and the other side you have skill. Knowledge of your role and your responsibilities. And then you have the skill to lead, skill to instruct, and skill to improve. The skill to instruct, that's where all the standard work stuff came from, and the job relations is the skill of leadership. And so all this material is now out in public domain and people can look at it. But after the war was over, we actually took the program, the TWI program, over to Japan to help them rebuild their country. And that's how Toyota got a hold of it. So in the old Toyota manuals, they called out the job instruction course and the job relations course. They teach those internal to Boeing, or not Boeing, Toyota. And the job instruction course is still taught today. It hasn't been changed, from what I understand, since 1955 or 56. And so the skill of leadership, it's really a skill. And it's not about this natural leader thing. I mean, some people might have a bit more of a natural tendency toward it, but it can be taught. And the companies that really understand that well, they've adopted this course or other similar courses that teach that skill. I think when we promote people, we promote them on the basis of the skill that they were performing a particular task lower in the company. But now they become leaders, and we don't invest the time to really develop them as a leader or really even spell out what it means to be a leader in an organization.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, listen, I know we're here at kind of our end of our time for part 1 of the episode, but please tune into our next episode. We're going to ask Marley more about how he's seen these things in the workplace and advice he has for the rest of us. Thanks so much for tuning in. Well, that's it for the episode. One other thing I wanted to tell you about, if you'll remember the guys from Convoy in episodes back, Ken Free and Trent Mano, I went on one of their CEO trips to New York, and I met a guy named Brent Thompson, very successful entrepreneur. He was former CEO of Jive Communications, big company now, I think $300 or $400 million. Anyways, he started a new company called blipbillboards.com. I'm super stoked they're a sponsor now. But I remember a year and some ago when I met him, I thought it was genius. Instead of having to buy 6 months or a year's worth of billboard for thousands of dollars, you can buy 8 seconds at a time for like 10 or 20 cents. You pick what billboard you want it on, what time of day you want it to run, and it just puts so much power in the hands of marketers and CEOs who want to try something
and see if it works. You can buy as many or as few as you want, change it as many times as you want. I think now our podcast is being advertised on billboards in like 18 different states because we have these guys as sponsors. We're pretty excited about it. Hope you check out blipbillboards.com. Thanks.